Okay, it being 5 p.m., the Lafourche Parish Council meeting of July 27, 2021 is hereby called to order. Ms. Carleen, can you please conduct roll call?
Yes, sir. Mr. Jones is absent. Mr. Adams. Present. Mr. Groh. Here. Mr. Melvin. Here. Mr. Wendell. Here. Mr. Arabi. Here. Chairman Otan.
Here.
Mrs. Chasson. Here. Mr. Lorraine. President Chasson.
Thank you very much, Ms. Carleen. If everyone would please rise, we'll be led in invocation by Mr. Wendell, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by Ms. Chasson.
Lord, as we gather tonight as the elected leaders of Lafourche, please grant us the ability to make decisions to better the area, residents, and quality of life of Lafourche Parish. In your name we pray, amen.
Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I'd like to welcome everyone to tonight's meeting. I'd also like to remind anyone wishing to address the council to please fill out a blue form at the by the door, get it up to the council clerk to ensure that you are recognized. We will, however, ask for public input during our ordinance period, at which time you can also speak there. Also, just like to comment that the government, our parish president has reinstituted a mask mandate in government buildings for those who are unvaccinated, and that's due to a huge uptick in the number of cases in Lafourche Parish, and there are clusters like I don't know if we've seen before moving this fast. So we just ask everyone to please be careful and be mindful of what's going on around you. With that said, we'll jump right into our agenda. Item A, approval of minutes. I'll now entertain a motion to accept the minutes of the July 13, 2021 regular session. So moved by Councilman Wendell, second by Councilman Adams. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes by a vote of 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence. That absence being Councilman Jones. Item B, we have none. Item C, do we have any state and or federal legislative updates? Not at session, special sessions out. We do not. That brings us to item D, presentations and or updates. We have none. So at this time, item E, executive session. I'll now entertain a motion to enter executive session. So moved by Councilman Wendell, second by Councilman Adams. Item 2, LARS 4217A2, discussion on settlement regarding Sandra Maillet versus Lafourche Parish Government, docket number C-125754. And this will be by Mr. Adams for the administration. I don't know if I said it backwards. With that said, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes by a vote of 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence. That absence being Councilman Jones. So we'll now move to...
So it'll be the full council, Ms. Lisa Ogeron, Mike G., myself, and the parish administrator.
Thank you for that, Archie. It's not what I... So we reconvene the meeting on motion by Councilman Wendell, second by Councilman Adams. That passed by 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence. And then we secondarily made a motion to take any necessary action regarding the matters discussed in the executive session, which was moved by Councilman Wendell, second by Councilman Adams. That also passed with 8 yeas, 0 nays, and 1 absence. Absence being Councilman Jones. Got it?
Good.
Okay, so that's what would happen when the mic was not on. Item F, action from executive session. Number 3, resolution approving to settle and issue payment on all claims by Sandra Maillet for the agreed amount in executive session on behalf of the Lafourche Parish Government, authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer any all relevant documents. Moved by Councilman Adams for the administration, second by Councilman Wendell. Any discussion on this by the council? There being none, we'll move it to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Is anyone opposed? Motion passes 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence. That absence being Councilman Jones. Item G, legal advisor report. None. Item H, engineers and or architect reports. I don't see any of them in the audience tonight. It's a pretty empty audience. Brings us to item I, public wishing to address the council, public hearings, agenda items, etc. None. And we have none. Item J, public hearing and ordinances for ratification. I now entertain a motion to open public hearing. So moved by Councilman Wendell, second by Councilman Adams. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Is anyone opposed? Motion passes with 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence. That absence being Councilman Jones. Item 4, ordinance providing for a 2021 supplemental appropriation 21-020 within the 2021 operations and maintenance budget and capital outlay budget to revise the library's budget and increase funding in the animal shelter, Head Start, and street light budgets, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said transactions as provided for by Article 6 of the Lafourche Parish Home Rule Charter. Mr. Adams will be moving on Mr. Jones's behalf for the administration, second by Councilman Wendell. Would anyone from the public like to comment on item 4? One time. two-time last call for public on item 4. Would anyone from the council like to discuss this item? There being none, we'll move this one to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Is anyone opposed? Motion passes with 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence, that absence being Councilman Jones. Item 5, ordinance approving a servitude agreement between Jennifer Sheremy Ordon and Lafourche Parish Government in the cutoff area and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any and all relevant documents. Moved by Mr. Lorraine for the administration. Can I get a second? Can I get a second? Second by Councilwoman Chesson. I almost said Boudreaux. Would anyone from the public like to comment on item 5? One time, two-time, last call for public. Anyone from the council like to discuss item 5? There being none, we'll move this to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Is anyone opposed? Motion passes with 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence, that absence being Councilman Jones. Item 6, ordinance providing a variance from the Lafourche Parish Subdivision Regulations, Chapter 22, Article 6, Division 3, Roads, Section 22408F, from having to install 3 cross streets in the McCor Holdings LLC subdivisions as recommended by the Lafourche Parish Planning Commission at their May 27, 2021 meeting. Would someone like to move on my behalf of the administration? So moved by Mr. Wendell, second by Mr. Adams. Would anyone from the public like to comment on item 6? One time, two-time, last call for public. Would anyone from the council like to discuss this item? Mr. Araby?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to abstain from voting on this item because that's a relative of mine that's building that subdivision, so I'll abstain from it.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Araby. There's no further discussion. We'll move this one to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Nay. Motion passes with 6 yeas, 1 nay, 1 abstention, and 1 absence. That absence being Mr. Jones, the 1 abstention being Mr. Araby, and the 1 nay being Councilman Oteng. I'll just say it's because y'all know I'm pretty anti-variance, even though I sponsored it. Okay, so is that right? 6-1-1-1?
That's correct.
Got it. All right. That's an odd one. We don't get many votes like that. Okay, item 7, ordinance providing for a 2020 supplemental appropriation 21-021 within the 2021 operations and maintenance budget to cover the cost of recreation projects and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said transactions as provided for by Article 6 of the Lafourche Parish Home Rule Charter. This will be sponsored by Mr. Melvin for the administration, second by Mr. Araby. Would anyone from the public like to comment on item 7? One time, right here. 2 times.
I'm sorry.
Last call for public? Okay, Mr. Melvin, you got it. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. Mr. Shasta, I was just curious. I know I'm sponsoring one later down, but I was reading this one, and hey, I know Nichols does a lot for us. I'm all supporting it. I will vote for it, but I noticed we're putting up, $200,000 for Nichols Guidry Stadium. I thought that was going to be on number 19, but again, I'm just asking to.
So this is, Mr.
I know
Chairman.
I'm reading my name in this one too, but.
Yeah, so
Go ahead, Mr. President.
this is the supplemental to move the money out of recreation into a fund for that
Okay.
particular project. Item
That's what I
19
thought.
is actually the Cooperative Endeavor Agreement.
Just
between
making
us
sure,
and
because
Nichols.
normally we put those, button them up, but that's fine.
Yes, sir.
Okay, very good. Any further discussion on item 7? There being none, we'll move it to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Is anyone opposed? Motion passes with 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence. That absence being Councilman Jones. Item 8, ordinance providing for a 2020 supplemental appropriation 21-023 within the 2021 operations and maintenance budget and capital outlay budget for the coronavirus state and local fiscal recovery funds signed under the American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said transactions as provided for by Article 6 of the Lafourche Parish Home Rule Charter. Mr. Wendell will move on Mr. Jones' behalf of the administration, second by Mr. Adams. Anyone from the public would like to comment on item 8? One time, 2 time. Last call for public on item 8. Anyone from the council? Mr. President, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know we sent out a big email to all of you kind of going through this first kind of $9.4 million, but just keep in the back of your mind that come April of next year, which will be included in next year's budget, is the second half of the other $9.425 million to do projects with as well. So just for the public who may be watching who wasn't kind of privy to that email, the beginning of this looks at kind of supplementing our master drainage plan, really looking at watersheds internally to help dealing out from a planning perspective when we look at where subdivisions are being built, that sort of thing. Looking at pump station automation, the levy district has kind of begun that and kind of tells us when the pumps are on or off and water elevations, but our plan is to mirror off of the substantial program that Terrebonne Parish has. You can literally watch it from your cell phone and see all pressures and a whole bunch of other stuff. Our GIS build out, some drainage work, as well as just some additional projects through recreation, some other stuff that we're going to fund. Our plan is to partner with Nichols through the project that Bo just mentioned. We're going to partner with Fletcher to help them on some workforce development. That'll be coming in a future supplemental to help build out a building for their CDL program and some other stuff on their Thibodeau campus at Nichols, or excuse me, on Tiger Drive. So it's going to leave us a few $100,000 left over that we have some wiggle room with, whether we're going to participate in some broadband. We're talking Fire Chief Crisoni, Fire Chief Didon, Fontenot mentioned, State Representative Fontenot mentioned some additional money for some water lines for fire protection across the parish. So we're going to sit back on some of that money if we need any matching dollars, but knowing that we have another $9.4 million coming at us again next year. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Very good. Thank you for that informative explanation, Mr. President. Any further discussion? There being none, we'll move item 8 to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes with 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence. That absence being Councilman Jones. Item 9, ordinance providing for a 2021 supplemental appropriation 21-022 within the 2021 operations and maintenance budget and capital outlay budget to cover the cost of a parish-wide portable pump and a transfer switch to be installed at Thibodeau High School for use of a generator. And authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said transactions as provided for by Article 6 of the Lafourche Parish Home Rule Charter. Mr. Adams will move on behalf of Mr. Jones for the administration. Can I get a second? Second by Mr. Wendell. That said, would anyone from the public like to comment on item 9? 1 call, 2 call, last call for public, item 9. Anyone from the council? There being none, we'll move this one to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Is there anyone opposed? Motion passes with 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence. That absence being Councilman Jones. Last ordinance for tonight, item 10, ordinance providing for a 2021 supplemental appropriation 21-024 within the 2021 operations and maintenance budget and capital outlay budget to de-obligate project 21013 and create a new project 21041 for security cameras, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said transactions as provided for by Article 6 of the Lafourche Parish Home Rule Charter. Moved by Mr. Adams for Mr. Jones for the administration, second by Mr. Wendell. Would anyone from the public like to comment on item 10? 1 time. 2 time, last call for public. Anyone from the council would like to discuss this item? Is that? Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Grove, you have the floor.
So the new project is, you expect it to cover more ground? I mean,
So this is, Mr. Chairman, this is just a clerical. So when Councilman Jones first asked us for the money, we were anticipating giving the money to the sheriff's office and letting them do it. We kind of got reversed in this situation where we're gonna own and maintain the equipment. The sheriff's office is gonna participate on the monitoring side. So because of the way Renita sets it up in finance, whether it's a grant that we would theoretically give somebody versus how we hold the equipment in-house, we have to change the project type.
and we're still looking at boat launches and pump stations, pretty
Yep,
much?
so it's all the ubiquity equipment that we need to beam the signal so we can do this wirelessly. We don't have the cell cards like we talked about. It's the Abbey and Marydale part that Jerry needed, Butch Hill, Layton, and Lockport. So all of the stuff we had originally talked about is still there. We actually, I think the last meeting, we actually approved the contracts. I signed them either late last week or yesterday, whatever day they wound up on my desk when we got them back from John Kaiser, who's the camera guy. So everything's ready to go. This is just cleaning up the language that we need for budgetary reasons. Not changing anything.
Yeah. And this is, so we're gonna buy our own cameras and have the sheriff's office monitor them instead of like a safeguard. I don't think they're not in business anymore,
Yeah.
but somebody like that doing
Yeah.
it.
So
Or Acadian or
it'll
whatever.
actually be pitched into their dispatch center in the old Coke building in Thibodeau so they can watch it. They will have the only access to the cameras to rewind them and replay them in case something happens. I don't need that access. I don't think any of you want that access. The only person maybe here that may have it would either be Chris Boudreau or Jason in OEP, just as a backup in case something happens at the sheriff's office or we get a call that we need to look back at something. But the rest of us are not, they're gonna monitor it for us.
All right, cool. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President and Councilman Grove. With that said, we'll move this one to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes with 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence. That absence being Councilman Jones. I'll now entertain a motion to close public hearing. So moved by Councilman Adams, second by Mr. Wendell. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes with 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence. That absence being Councilman Jones. Item K, proposed ordinances. Mr. Wendell, you have the floor, sir.
Item number 11, proposed ordinance providing for a 2021 supplemental appropriation 21-025 within the 2021 operations and maintenance budget to cover emergency work for Bayou Chevreuil and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said transactions as provided by Article 6 of the Lafourche Parish Home Rule Charter by Mr. Adams on behalf of administration. Item number 12, proposed ordinance declaring property as surplus belonging to Lafourche Parish Government, authorizing the disposal of surplus property, authorizing the advertising of surplus items for sale, authorizing the acceptance of the highest qualified bidders, and any remaining items that are deemed to have no value will be properly discarded, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer any and all relative documents by Mr. Adams for administration.
And in record time, through proposed ordinances, we move through item L, resolutions. Number 13, resolution appointing 1 member to the Housing Authority of Lafourche Parish Board, Mr. Araby for the administration. Who do you have, Mr. Araby?
We had 1 applicant for this position, and we have Carol Orojo.
Can I get a second for Carol? Second by Councilwoman Chesson. Any discussion? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence. That absence being Councilman Jones. Item 14, resolution approving participation in LED's Louisiana Development Ready Communities Program and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer any and all relevant documents. Moved by Councilman Adams for the administration, second by Councilman Wendell. Any discussion? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Is anyone opposed? Motion passed with 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence. That absence being Councilman Jones. Item 15, resolution accepting a grant from the Bayou Community Foundation in the amount of $5,000 for the Reverend Lloyd Wallace Community Center and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer any and all relevant documents. Moved by Councilman Araby for the administration. Can I get a second? Second by Councilwoman Chesson. Any discussion on item number 15?
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. President, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, sir. I just want to publicly thank the Bayou Community Foundation and their donors and their board, and also give a huge public shout out to Heather, who runs the Wallace Center for us. The things she does at that center every day are just awesome, and she's done a really good job at chasing these grants, which just further what she can do there. So thank you to both of them.
Excellent. There's no further discussion. We'll move it to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Is anyone opposed? Motion passes with 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence. That absence being Councilman Jones. Item 16, resolution approving the purchase of a used 36-inch submersible hydraulic pump to be used throughout the parish in the amount of $140,000 and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer any and all relevant documents. Moved by Councilman Adams for the administration, second by Councilman Wendell. Would anyone like to discuss item 16? There being none, oh, you got to, go ahead, Mr. Grove.
What is a submersible, portable? Explain what this looks like to me.
Someone can Mr.
Man, forgive me for that.
Dylan, you have the floor, sir.
Can this go to Waverly while waiting on them parts to come in?
Go ahead, Dylan.
Sink it over there.
So this is a very large hydraulic portable pump. It is not, it is portable, but it's not easily moved, if that makes any sense. The head unit weighs around 9,500 pounds. The engine weighs around 11,000 pounds. This is to be used when it's currently being used at Cyprian right now. When these pump stations are down and we're rebuilding them, this is a pump that moves around 45,000 gallons a minute. So this is a heavy-duty pump that moves a lot of water when we're rebuilding these pump stations. So this is to be put in place to be used for 6 months to a year at one location and then move to its next location, obviously serviced on the way and deployed again. Does that answer your question?
So it's used and it works, obviously. This one?
Yes, sir.
This isn't the one we have there that we have on like a loaner or something we buying? It's another one?
No, sir.
And how does one move this? You gotta get a special company to move it?
A 90-ton truck crane, yes, sir.
So it probably ain't gonna move.
So with Dylan's trying to, so this is, and I think I put this in the summary, this is one of the triggers we pulled during the flood fight with Tibu when Cyprian actually went down and we needed to have some pumping capacity there. So it's already there. We basically bought it. This is an after the fact approval for you guys. But when we take down a pump station like Cyprian, once we move it to Magnolia, whatever one's next, we're gonna move it in increments. It's not gonna be one that we hitch up during a storm and very easily drop. That is, if you guys remember, probably about 3 weeks ago now, we were awarded that watershed grant initiative for $1.9 million to buy 8 portable pumps. Those pumps will be the pumps you're thinking of that we can hitch to the back of a truck and disperse very quickly to places that we're getting overrun with. This is a big, massive unit that will replace basically a pump at a pump station. When we take it down, it's project-based, yeah.
So certainly, if it was here today, where would it go? There's gotta be a place we want it if we drop in 140,000.
So it's currently sitting at Cyprian, it's pumping water for
But
Blue
if
right now.
Cyprian was built, what would we do with this?
So whatever the next pump station is for us that we take down, so probably, if I had to guess, as we get through some of the Hurricane Barry money that we got, and we start to take down Coastal, and then Company Canal, and then Edgar Guidry, those would probably be the next three places it would go.
Okay. Thank you.
And then we'll take it to Bobcat after, Jim.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Dylan. With that said, is there any further discussion on this item? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Is anyone opposed? Motion passes with 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence. That absence being Councilman Jones. Item 17, resolution approving change order number 1 from LA Contracting Enterprise LLC for the project titled Eastside Drainage Improvements, decreasing the contract price by $359,600, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said change order and any all relevant documents. Moved by Councilwoman Shellstone for the administration, second by Councilman Arabi. Would anyone like to discuss item 17? Mike, your light's still there.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Mr. Lorraine.
Yes, excuse me. As you know, this has been an ongoing project for a long time. And then you got a change order decreasing the price. Is there something that they're not doing, or what's the $359,000 difference?
So there was,
Mr. President.
thank you, Mr. Chairman. There was an alternate in the project to replace a bridge that went across the canal, that we are not gonna do. So we're just taking out alternate number 1 from the original bid.
You said bridges?
Bridge, singular.
Oh, okay. That was probably on East 74th, huh? 75?
East 40th, Bayou Lewis.
40?
Yeah.
Okay, well, that,
Yeah,
I
the state,
just-
because it's a private bridge, the state wouldn't pay for it. So we'd have to come out of pocket that $359, excuse me. So it was just something that it didn't really make a whole hill of beans to the project, so we just took it out as an alternate.
Okay, no, I just wanted to know, because that's a very important project that should have been done a long time ago, but it's gonna eventually get done. It's been in the making quite a few years. Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Dylan, for that input, for the answers from Mr. Lorraine. With that said, any further discussion on item 17? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence. That absence being Councilman Jones. Item 18, resolution certifying compliance with Louisiana Public Bid Law for the project titled Eastside Drainage Improvements and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer any and all relevant documents. Moved by Councilwoman Shellstone for the administration, and second by Councilman Arabi. Anyone would like to discuss item 18? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes with 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence. That absence being Councilman Jones. Item 19, resolution approving a cooperative endeavor agreement between Lafourche Parish Government and Nicholls State University to provide reimbursement for the maintenance of the John L. Guidry Stadium, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any all relevant documents. Moved by Councilman Melvin for the administration. Can I get a second? Second by Councilman Grow. Any discussion on item number 19? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes with 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence. That absence being Councilman Jones. Item 20, resolution approving a cooperative endeavor agreement between Lafourche Parish Government and the town of Golden Meadow to provide reimbursement for the construction of a pavilion at the Golden Meadow Oak Ridge Park, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any all relevant documents. Moved by Councilman Lorraine for the administration. Can I get a second? Second by Councilwoman Shellstone. Any discussion on item number 20? Mr. Lorraine.
Yes, Mr. Chasson, can you tell me exactly, we're talking about a pavilion in here. I took a ride to the park, and I don't know if he's planning on putting a pavilion or a little top about a skateboard park, or if it's about a ballpark. But by the ballpark, there is some bleachers already, but there's enough room to put another set of bleachers if that's what they're talking about. I really don't know. And I attend 99% of the town meetings. 99%. Almost 100. It's never been brought to my attention. In fact, some of the council members on the city council don't even know about this. And you don't really have to come to me. but it just teased me off that something like this comes up, and I don't even know nothing about it. You kind of talked to me a little bit about it the other day. I mean, hey, you could talk to somebody. Now, if I'd have brought that to you, would you have putting this up if I'd have brought it?
Well, of course.
Okay, I figured you'd tell me that. I'm just asking.
You asked me for a fishing pier, I gave you a fishing pier.
I'm just asking. I'm just telling you. But
Ask me for
where are we
COVID,
at with
see what
this?
happens.
Is this for the skateboard park? Do you know?
So I don't exactly know where he's gonna put it. This is gonna be a reimbursable one. Mayor Bouzigar reached out probably a couple of months ago and asked if we had some wiggle room in our recreation budget, to provide some funding for a pavilion. Now, when I talked to Jody and Mike last night, they mentioned bleachers. Joey told me a pavilion, so, I mean, we could clear it up. When we reimburse it, he's gonna have to give us an invoice for whatever he does, so pavilion.
No, I'm just trying to.
Bleachers, it's all the same
It makes no
thing.
difference. I'm just trying to figure out where it's being put. You know, if it's a pavilion with bleachers, I'm sure they're gonna have some bleachers on this. Because if you look at the tennis court, they got a little pavilion with bleachers. You got that by the basketball court. You got that by the baseball field. So the only thing I could see is probably the skateboard park. But you know, the parish partners with a lot of entities.
We do.
And I want to make an amendment to this resolution that the amendment says I want to have 2 signs placed, whether it's a pavilion or bleachers, which reads, paid for by Lafourche Parish Government. That's going to be my amendment.
Mr. Chairman, I don't know that you can amend the Cooperative Endeavor Agreement, but Daniel, I'll make you a deal. Take your amendment out, and I'll make sure the signs get put up on whatever he builds.
No,
I don't think you can amend the Cooperative Endeavor Agreement from the floor like that.
This is a CEA, but you
it's a
probably can add,
CEA.
but you can add another resolution.
Well, I'll
at the
put
next
another
meeting.
resolution at the next meeting.
Yeah,
That's
you can do
fine.
that.
I can do that.
I mean, you know, if you talk to people, find out what's going on, then you know. But I just think that no, I'm not talking about you. Everybody as a whole, including me. What I'm talking about is that the parish participates in a lot of things, and we always get pushed aside. Always, like most of the time, the parish gives the money to whoever's doing the project, and we're nowhere around, but we're the ones that got them the money or gave them the money. So it's time that the parish starts letting the people know that they participated, and a sign will work. Just like the community center, which I went to last night. They got a big sign. Doesn't have Archie Chasson, but they got a big sign up there. You were a little bit too late with all the council members and quite a few other places. So it's just, I'll bring it up at the next meeting with a different resolution. Okay?
Just
Thank you.
as chairman, just to be clear though, Mr. Lorraine, I know this is in your area, so you're telling us to vote in favor of this?
Well, what you think? You think I'm gonna tell you to vote against it? Come on, Harmon.
Or
You know better than that.
Well, we've been talking for a few minutes, I'm just asking.
I was said that I was teed off because I wasn't brought into the picture.
Okay.
I've been representing that district for 38 years. I've gotten buku things in Golden Meadow. Plenty. In fact, if you heard when he talked last night, he pretty much said it. You know, a lot of projects. But people need to know who's participating in them projects, just like the Port Commission, same thing.
Okay.
I'm for it.
So more micromanagement.
Huh?
I get it. So more micromanagement. More hands in it.
Well, whatever. I just think that, I'm telling you, his own council don't even know about this. Maybe his daughter might know.
Okay.
But the rest don't know. You got one sitting right there. He can tell you he don't know. So, but I'll fix it. Thank you.
Okay. Any further discussion on this item? There being none, we move it to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Is anyone opposed? Motion passes 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence. That absence being Councilman Jones. Item 21, resolution approving a lease purchase of 2 vehicles from Golden Motors in the total amount of $55,611.20. and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer an agreement and any all relevant documents. Moved by Councilman Adams for the administration, second by Councilman Wendell. Any discussion on this item? Mr. Melvin, no? Okay, so we'll move this to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes with 7 yeas, 0 nays, 1 abstention, that abstention being Councilman Melvin, and 1 absence, that absence being Councilman Jones. Got it, Ms. Carlene?
Yes, sir.
Okay, very good. That wraps up resolutions, brings us to item M, parish president, department heads, directors, our manager reports, presentations, and our updates. Item 22, finance representative to present the monthly financial report as required by the state agreed upon procedures for June 2021. Mr. President, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You guys all should have gotten an email from Mitch with the quarterly or the monthly financials. Renita's here if you have any questions.
Very good. Does anyone have any questions regarding finance? Ms. Renita is here. Does anyone, before I go to just general discussion, anyone have any specific items for the parish president? Mr. Melvin.
I just wanted to thank Renita for meeting with us. I don't know if everybody met, but I wanted to thank her for meeting with us, as council members, simply because I know we didn't get that kind of attention in the last administration, so thank y'all.
Okay, very good. It brings us to item N, discussion. As we have started doing, I will now just open for general discussion, final comments. Mr. Lorraine, you have the floor first, sir.
Yes, Mr. Chasson, is there any way we could meet with Ms. Bagala for that property at the annex? I talked to Mitch. I think he said they were going to try to go sit down, talk to her, see what's what y'all planning on doing with it, if anything, and take it from there.
Yes, sir. Yes, Mr. Lorraine. Mr. Ogeron can definitely go meet with Ms. Bagala.
Wait, what was that?
Mr. Ogeron can definitely go meet with Ms. Bagala.
Okay. I like the way you said that. My next question, am I still the liaison for the library? You didn't take me off?
As far as I know, unless you're telling me you quit.
I'm a little disappointed with them because they had 2 meetings recently and they never even sent me anything. No email, no agenda, no nothing. Like they threw me off, I guess. But I'd love to surprise them. So I'm still on? Okay. But they didn't, I'm gonna have to find out when they meet because they don't send me nothing.
Ms. Carlene, is it possible do you get the notifications for the meetings?
Sometimes I do, yeah.
Can you make sure that Mr. Lorraine gets notified? Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I usually send it to all of y'all when I get it.
Yeah, well, I didn't, Carlene usually sends things, but I usually get it direct. I usually get a packet mail, everything. They scratch me off, man. Maybe I'm too mean.
Thank you, Mr. Lorraine. Ms. Chasson? Mr. Araby? Yeah, turn your mic on, Mike.
Couple of questions for Dylan. You can just give me an update on a couple of the projects, Dylan. One is the Gaines Outfall Canal that I spoke to you about on, I think, Mr. Savoy's property. You said you had some other stuff to talk to him about. I was wondering if we had any headway made on that. It's been a couple of months now and I haven't heard anything.
Any update? Mr. Dillon, you want to answer that?
Yes, I have a meeting with Mr. Salvo tomorrow on a separate issue, and I plan to talk to him about it then.
Thank you, sir. Also, did we make any headway yet on the Pelican outfalls? I know Mr. Arsenal came by here and talked to y'all about right-of-ways and Mr. Labatt and everything else. Did we get anywhere with that yet, you know?
No, sir, we haven't. We have a little bit of short staffing issue in the office here lately. He did meet with Miss Hannah 2 weeks ago. Everybody else was out when he came. We were still unsure as to exactly who owns the property and where the property boundaries are because there's no current survey. Actually, there's never been a survey in that area. So once we figure out who owns the property, then the rightful property owner can, in fact, give us a right-of-way. And both have agreed to give us a right-of-way. It's just to figure out who the owner is.
Also, the St. Peter Street outfall and the DD Troops outfall. Did we make any headway with that yet? I sent a couple of people to talk to y'all about those 2 ditches.
Yeah, yes, you sure did. And with the DD Tubes outfall, we still waiting to hear back from the property owner. The property owner is not sure if they have the authority to sign for the rightful property owner. So, as you know, right-of-ways take a long time and a lot of headache to get them. We are working through all of those processes. As soon as we get something, I will inform you.
I appreciate that. And again, thank y'all for all what y'all doing. Like I said, I kind of bring these outfalls up just about every meeting because I get the phone calls on them and people want to know if we're going to do anything or not. So I appreciate it. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Mr. Araby. Mr. Melvin?
No, thank you. I've been corresponding by email. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Melvin. Mr. Grove?
Yeah, it's just a couple things. About putting in work orders and stuff, and I haven't had any issues with it, but the grass, I mean, you can't cut your own yard right now, and I've talked to Dylan about it, but a lot of residents, you know, are not noticing some of this rain, I guess. When I send in a work order, if we can't get to it in a month or two because of rain, I understand it, but maybe just come back to me and say, look, we're gonna rut this yard up, you know, and then I could go back. If I put the person's name, maybe I would call them, I don't know, but just tell me if we can't get to it, because I truly understand, you know, but you guys have been so good about things. When you put a work order in, it's done, you know, and you see it just show up as a fixed thing, and you do the magnitude of these that we do at times, you know, it's hard to go back. I never felt like I need to go back and check them off and grade, you know, like, because I've been blessed that the things are taken care of. But just if there's something that's in there and it's in there for a while and there's a reason we're not cutting it, I mean, because in their minds, they think we just should call Sheriff Weber and get people out there, you know, on the work release program with weed eaters and stuff and get in there. They don't care about an arm reach being broken or a long arm or a short arm. That just sounds like hogwash when we're not there in months. So, and I think y'all know that. Just communicate back if there's something we can't do. I talked to Mitch too. I want to try, when y'all get together, you guys know about my budget stuff, but I want to sit down again. Just let's get a date on the books. And then the other thing is just about the COVID stuff. You know, Chairman Otem mentioned something earlier. Just be vigilant, be careful, you know, the numbers, the stuff that's out there, whether you believe in the shot or not, the numbers don't lie. I mean, it is bad. You talk to anybody who works at the hospital, they'll tell you, especially in Thibodeau, it's full up, you know, with all ages, you know, nobody's immune to it. It doesn't matter if you had the shot or you had it before or didn't. It just be vigilant, you know, keep washing your hands. So that's it. Thank you.
Good point. Thank you, Councilman Groh. Mr. Wendell? No, sir. Mr. Adams? Mr. President?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to kind of pick up on COVID where Mike left off. And Mike, I don't know who got Dr. Jody Plaisance to do that video, but I thought it was great, and I saw it made its way around social media. You know, we made the decision last week to kind of go back to masks for the unvaccinated people, not because I'm a huge fan of the masks, but it's more about protecting not only our employees from people who are coming in, but the potential for us to maybe spread it to people as they come in if they're not wearing masks. So one of the things we did, we keep in contact with GOSEP. The information doesn't flow as freely as it used to during the height of it. I know Councilman Groh has asked for some updated numbers, and I check the DHH website just about every day. So as we get kind of that updated information, I'll make sure we send it to you guys. But I think the numbers from yesterday, when I sent them to you guys, were 39 people in the hospital, Lafourche, 97 people region-wide, and I think 10 of those 97 region-wide were on ventilators. We have seen a huge explosion of cases, which is not to be unexpected, I guess, with the new variant. So I would venture to guess that we're going to see some updated guidance from the governor as the week goes on, especially if cases continue to increase. I don't know, for those people who have asked about fairs and festivals coming up in the fall, I don't think we see stuff shut down. And I know Councilman Otan, you said this time and time again, I've begun to say it too. Our constituents deserve a better answer than we're going to shut things back down. I don't know what that answer is yet, but they deserve a better answer than that. So we're going to continue to do what we have to do, I guess, from a local level. We've been in contact with Dr. Clune. I met with him on Monday about their return to school, and if there was a way, either through, they unfortunately had to suspend their Greek rush this year because of the increase in cases. They didn't want to have an explosion of it on campus. So we've talked to Dr. Clune about using the sororities and the fraternities as a way to get out the message, whether we work with our local health unit in Thibodeau to set up a vaccine clinic for kids as they come back to campus for welcome back day or however they want to do it, if we can help target that population through that way. So we're going to continue to work with the health unit and our state partners. If anybody is willing, you can walk into just about any Walmart, CVS, Walgreens, a local pharmacy, the health unit in Thibodeau, the health unit in Galliano, and get a vaccine. There's more than what we need to go around now, so there's no need to make an appointment. But we'll continue to keep you guys updated if anything changes. You guys, we had a proposed ordinance for the surplus equipment. A lot of you, if you drive 182, has seen all the equipment starting to get stacked up at the old landfill, trucks, tractors, old pump stuff that we have out there. So hopefully after the next meeting, once you guys approve that, we'll get to working on an auction so we can have that stuff auctioned off. Dylan and his crew have done a great job at cleaning up the landfill, and beginning to clean up some of the field office locations with scrap metal. I think we made like $8,400 last month, just cleaning up scrap from just the landfill that had been laying around there forever in the tall grass. So we're trying to do our part. You know, my favorite saying back to Dylan is, you know, we hold people accountable all day long through solid waste of keeping their yards clean. We should have to do the same to ours. So we've begun to clean that stuff up. I did send an email to the judges and Annette this morning. We did find finally a company who would soft wash the courthouse. They did some test spots. I think I sent some pictures to Mike so he could see them. The courthouse is scheduled to be cleaned on August the 28th, was kind of his earliest available date. So they're going to do the courthouse on the Saturday and the annex on the Sunday. So we're going to work with Thibodeau PD to block off the streets. They're going to bring in a man lift and turn our courthouse back white. The courthouse, the morgue, and the rodeo arena are still on schedule with the engineers to have a project ready to go to bid sometime around September on all three of those. On the courthouse, Kevin Grow with Weimer Grow, excuse me, not Weimer Grow Flores anymore, it's Grow Positeri Flores, continue to work with Judge LeBlanc on the old courthouse, and the renovations need to be done in there. So that part the old courthouse may drag out a little bit longer, but the annex project should start before the end of the year. And Councilman Otan and I signed all the bond documents that you guys had been approving the last couple of months this afternoon. That money should hit our bank account, I think on Thursday, they said. So we'll begin to work on equipment purchases and projects that we've talked about the last several months with the bond money and get those rolling before the end of the year. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I just have a couple of questions. Mitch, if you could please update the full council so everyone's aware of where we stand with this particular room.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, so we had to order the carpet, actually. It's 4 to 6 weeks out. Once the carpet is received, we're actually going to pull up the tile that's in here, and we're going to completely change the carpet out here. Then we'll put the baseboards in place, and ultimately we'll strip and refinish the flooring outside with new wax.
Thank you for that update. So 4 to 6 weeks is kind of what we're looking at right now. Dylan, I'm assuming no new update on the LaRose flood wall project?
No, sir, there is no new update. We are trying to still visit with the landowner and acquire that right away so we can reduce the cost of this project tremendously. Hopefully he's willing to work with us, and we can talk more about it after if you like.
Thank you very much, Dylan.
Yes,
I
sir.
appreciate you continuing to pursue that one. Archie, I will say thank you for noticing my continued comment to all of the government heads, that government needs to do a better job with COVID, and in particular, not just simply shutting down while people have to still go to work. Can anyone advise the public, if you wanted to get tested, you're not feeling good, where you should go? I know the local urgent cares are really overwhelmed with testing, and right now, I know as of yesterday, it was a 4.5-hour wait to get tested. Are there any faster facilities in this parish?
So all of the urgent cares in the 2 health units, most of the family doctor clinics, I think, are doing them now as well, if you can get into a family doctor clinic. We don't have any open test sites like we had in the beginning, but I think you will see as the numbers continue to uptick. I would venture to guess in the next couple of days, Chris is going to tell me that somebody's going to have reached out and wanted to do one, whether we do it at Nichols again, or we start to pop them up across the parish. But any of your local health units, your family doctors, and the 2 health units would probably be the best place to start.
There is no rapid home test yet?
So there is. You can go to CVS and buy the home kit. I think they're about $10 a piece. Looks like a pregnancy test, I think.
They're at Walgreens, they're like $23.
Yeah.
Yeah, but 2 tests come in $1, and they are accurate.
Wow, so there you go, Nikki. You didn't have to sit in line for 4.5 hours yesterday. Sorry, I know today. Thank you for that update, I appreciate it. Last thing I have is I just want to congratulate Lafourche citizen Danny Maillet, who was president of the Louisiana State Farmers Association. He held his convention this past weekend in Baton Rouge. It was a successful convention for all of the fire departments and firefighters throughout the great state of Louisiana. I want to additionally thank Parish President Archie Chesson, who was a guest speaker on one of the nights, and also Councilman Araby, who volunteered the Racing Lions Club to come up and cook for one of the days, for one of the events. So thank y'all, and once again, congratulations, Danny. Mr. President? 2
other things real quick, Mr.
Go ahead.
Chairman. So I think we've all been peppered with the tall grass complaints along the state highway, especially 3235 in the South Lafourche community. I sent a very not so nice email to DOT today because somebody with DOTD was telling residents who would call that the state pays the parish to cut the grass on the state highways, which is completely false. The only two places that are done are inside the town of Golden Meadow and inside the city limits of Thibodeau for Highway 20 along North Canal Boulevard. So I do know the state started to cut 32, 35 last week. I've seen the spray truck around the Lafourche Crossing area, so things are starting to get taken care of, but it might be a little while. But it is not our sole responsibility to do that. I did send an email last week to all of our field office supervisors that said, as they are coming out of residential streets, if they see an area that needs to be cut that may be an impediment to traffic, like it's causing an issue when you try to pull out, to please cut it while the tractor's in the area. We're burning diesel anyway, we might as well cut it. To the point where I actually told Dylan last weekend that I was gonna start to ask for volunteers on Friday who wanted to make some overtime and cut some grass, and we were gonna go cut some state routes just to be able to knock it out because the state, for whatever, is dragging their behinds. And secondly, very quickly, we released the press release this afternoon, but I'm really proud about this. We got really re-involved in NACO when we came back into office, which is the National Association of Counties, something I was involved in the last time. But for the first time, and I think this is probably nationwide, but for the first time in Lafourche Parish history, we have every member of our executive team appointed to a steering committee within NACO that sets national policy for our country, whether it's environmental land use, finance, human services, IT, transportation. Every single one of the people sitting behind me, with the exception of Tony, there really isn't anything for permits on a national level other than ICC, but we do have J.Y. Delcom, who's on the statewide ICC board, which is great too. But every single one of these guys behind me got appointed to a national board this week through the Police Jury Association. I'm really proud of that. First time that Lafourche has ever had that happen, much less the state of Louisiana.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think Mr. Wendell has raised his light to make the motion for adjournment, or?
Just a quick question for the parish president, then I'll adjourn.
Go ahead.
So just to clarify, if a roadway has the distinction LA in front of it, be it LA 1, LA 308, LA 3235, LA 316, that does signify Louisiana, and the state is responsible for repairs, grass cutting?
That is correct.
Appreciate it. Motion to adjourn?
Motion on the floor by Mr. Wendell, second by Mr. Adams, that there is no further business. The Lafourche Parish Council regular meeting of July 27, 2021 will be adjourned at 5:57 p.m. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Is anyone opposed? Motion passed.